Boyfriend faked a whole career, lied to me and dumped me with a $347 check. But when I walked into his party, I made sure he regretted everything. You guys, I'm still absorbing last weekend. Replaying it in my thoughts makes me wonder if I dreamt it all. Nope. My maxed out credit card and ice cream smears on my couch prove it. Jake and I were together for 2 years. 2 years, not a fling. Netflix marathons on Sundays, awkward holiday meals with both families, and that odd couples yoga class he insisted on trying, which we both were terrible at. We had it all down. Things weren't perfect. Are they ever? I thought we were solid. We considered moving in together this summer. He kept leaving his socks around, texting during movies, and making helpful comments about my appearance. That shirt makes your arms look bigger, or, have you considered changing your hairstyle? I always dismissed it as his honesty. Past me was a doormat. Jake texted me about this work friend meal last Friday. He never included me in his job life, stating it wasn't professional or anything. Actually, I was excited. After shopping for a new dress, RIP budget, I spent forever getting ready. The whole YouTube makeup tutorial, the expensive straightener I use for special occasions, etc. This costly downtown eatery has little portions and no menu prices. Red flag number 1. Jake is there with Joshua and Pablo, his co-workers. I get an odd vibe when I arrive. Jake barely recognizes me, just a half stand from his chair and, "You're late." Parking was tough, so I was 2 minutes late. He looks at my clothes and says, "Oh, you wore that?" Not quietly either. My face heated up when his companions exchanged this gaze. Please note that I was wearing a dark blue outfit that I liked. I joke, "Is there a dress code I missed?" He shrugs and says they ordered appetizers. Cool. The following hour is Jake babbling about a job I don't understand while his friends nod. Jake interrupts or corrects me whenever I enter the chat. After I recalled a customer at my store, Jake said, "She doesn't really get how things work in the real business world," as if retail wasn't a genuine career. I managed for 3 years. I sit there growing increasingly uncomfortable, wondering if Jake has always been this condescending, and I simply didn't notice, or if he's playing off for his pals. Bad look either way. I tell Joshua that his co-worker Vanessa, my dearest friend, introduced us. Jake stops me mid-sentence and says, "Yes, Vanessa felt bad for her." "Really, I was helping." Laughs. Seriously, my stomach plummeted. Nothing like that happened. Vanessa warned me about Jake's ego before setting us up, but stated he was a decent man. No, he wasn't. I leave for the restroom to avoid crying in front of them. In the stall, I text Vanessa, "What the fuck is happening?" When I see that Jake tagged himself at this restaurant with Boys Night Out on Instagram, I feel like I'm not there. Vanessa calls me quickly, but I put her on hold to avoid the guys seeing me cry. I splash water on my face, reapply my makeup, and give myself a sad pep talk in the mirror about eating dinner with dignity. After returning to the table, they chuckle about something, but stop when I sit down. Awesome. The server brings our main portions, and Jake keeps making fun of my food choice. Because I was anxious about the bill, I chose spaghetti, one of the cheaper selections. He kept adding, "Carb loading for a marathon? That's a bold choice for your body type." Each comment seems like a paper cut, and they build up quickly. I'm hardly eating, moving food around my plate and counting the minutes till I leave. When Pablo asks Jake about a presentation, Jake tells him how his boss enjoyed his ideas, and he now runs the project. My brain clicks. Jake was apprehensive about his 5-minute presentation the week before. He's suddenly famous? He seems to be the protagonist in another world. Bill arrives. After the waiter places it on the table, Jake looks at it and slides it to me. I thought he was showing me the sum, but he said, "I'll never forget this." You know what? I doubt this works. I watch him for the punchline, not one. "I've tried to work this out, but I'm no longer interested in you. I think we should split." Within a restaurant. In front of pals. 2 years together. Does anyone else do that? Completely surprised. "Are you serious now? Want to do this way?" He jumps up, grabs his jacket and says, I still get a knot in my stomach. "A girl like you should be grateful I dated you this long. You're no prize." Then he and his companions left. I was left with a $347 bill for their dumb Wagyu appetizers and nice beverages after they left laughing. The waiter's pity made everything worse. I paid with my credit card, which I'm still paying off from Christmas, yay, and got to my car without falling apart. Vanessa couldn't understand me when I called from the parking lot, crying. She delivered a pint of Ben & Jerry's and a bottle of wine to my apartment, the MVP. Between ugly crying and stress-eating cookie dough, I told her everything. She was furious. I had to stop her from driving to Jake's and throwing a disturbance. She became strange then. She kept asking Jake about work, the project, and his role in the company. Finally she said, "Sabrina, I don't know how to tell you this, but Jake isn't who he says he is at work. Jake isn't a rising marketing star. Coffee runs and meeting scheduling are his duties as an assistant. All those business trips, complete fabrications, big presentation, just doing the team's slides. His fancy LinkedIn title? Total fiction." I felt stupid. This guy lied about everything for 2 years, and I never questioned it. What else was he lying about? I went full-on detective that night when Vanessa departed. I went through our text history, pics, everything. I missed so many inconsistencies, comments about money that didn't stack up, late work but a cross-town location. Unable to sleep. I kept thinking about how little he made me feel and how humiliated I was in the restaurant. A stranger texts me at 3 a.m. "Hey Cody from Jake's office. Vanessa gave me your number. Some information is necessary." That was when things got interesting. Update 1. Thanks for all the kind comments on my last post. Reading some made me cry, for good reasons. Since several of you requested an update, here's what transpired in this crazy event. After Cody, who works with Jake, told me that my 2-year-old boyfriend had been living in a dream world of his own, I spent the following few days in a horrible post-breakup fog. You know, where you alternate between bawling into a pint of ice cream and furiously browsing through old images to see whether they're real. My apartment was a mess, because cooking felt impossible. Dishes, laundry, and 7 empty DoorDash bags stacked up. The hardest part was that I would think of something humorous to text Jake, then recall what happened, and it felt like getting dumped again. Did that really happen? Was running through my head. Why did I not see this coming? I avoided social media because I knew Jake would post something irritating. I gave in Wednesday morning and checked Instagram. Jake took a gym selfie with the phrase, "Level up. Know your worth." Audacity. I nearly flung my phone across the room. Vanessa brought takeout that night and found me wrapped in my comforter like a sad burrito. She has been amazing, making sure I eat real food, listening to me whine about the same things, and never saying, "I told you so," even though she had her doubts about Jake from the start. Vanessa showed me her Cody texts while we ate. They had been talking a lot, and he had tea to spill. Cody said Jake told everyone at work that he dumped me because I was clingy and talked about marriage. Oh what? Jake had a Pinterest board called Future Home Ideas. He said it was research for a professional assignment. Cody revealed that Jake not only lied about his employment title. Taking credit for others' labor put him on probation and could get him fired. Late nights at work? He desperately tried to rectify problems before anyone noticed. Those business trips? Complete fiction. My phone rang when I was thinking about this. Jake's mother, Emma. I almost didn't answer. Awkward. But decided to act like an adult. Emma has always been nice to me, remembering my birthday and asking about my life. She seemed worried and asked about Jake and me. He told his folks we fought but we're all right. Little fight? He publicly humiliated me, dumped me in front of his buddies, and left me with a huge bill. I avoided putting her in the middle by explaining we were taking some space. She then mentioned Jake's birthday dinner on Saturday, and how the family was excited to see me. I almost choked on lo mein. Jake informed his family we were together, and I was coming to his birthday supper. At supper at his parents' residence, he reportedly told them we had major news. I was stunned as Vanessa looked at me like I had a second head after hanging up. Is he delusional, or a pathological liar? I wondered the same thing. We devised the plan then. I wouldn't ignore his family. They'd always been good to me, so they deserved to know Jake's true nature. But I wouldn't cause a scene or be vengeful. I would attend the meal as invited and tell the truth. Cody came for coffee the next day. He was cool despite meeting us through Jake, which was awkward. He validated everything and provided more Jake work-lying specifics. Only Jake and 2 interns comprised Jake's team. The huge presentation he led last month? He ran the slideshow as his boss spoke. Cody felt upset for me, stating he'd always thought Jake's stories about me were incorrect. Jake came to work saying that I was high maintenance, but I paid for most of our dates at the end since he claimed to be between paychecks, which I now realize probably meant he was awful with money. Cody received a text from their employer midway during our chat asking if he could help with an emergency project Saturday night. Cody was upset since he had plans, but I had a thought. What if Cody needed to deliver something to Jake's parents during the birthday dinner? It would be an ideal time. As we worked out the specifics, Jake texted me, his first since the restaurant incident. Just, we need to talk about what happened. I might have overreacted. Might have. Cody nearly spit out his coffee when I showed him. Overreacted is when you vent about someone being late, not when you publicly humiliate your 2-year-old girlfriend and charge her $300. I remained silent. Let him perspire. The next 2 days were full of preparation. Not going to this dinner unprepared. I found all the lies in past texts, dates he claimed to be at work, conferences that didn't occur, and Cody confirmed co-worker claims. Even Jake's work event images were downloaded from the company website. Vanessa helped me choose an outfit Friday night. Part of me wanted to look great to spite him. We agreed that looking beautiful, without appearing too hard, was optimal. We chose a plain black outfit that Jake stated made me look average, which I now realize was his bizarre negging attempt because I always got comments. I barely slept Friday night. What if it failed? What if his family supported him? What if I froze and failed? By Saturday AM, I had eaten my nails to nothing and imagined 17 scenarios. Jake texted again at noon. Looking forward to seeing you tonight. Put on beautiful clothes. I did not answer. My parents are excited. Let him think freely. I prepared in the afternoon with a strange mix of anxiety and anticipation. Vanessa helped me with my hair and gave me a pep talk when I lost my nerve. At 5:30, I drove to his parents' place. I had to stop driving once because my hands were trembling so much. For a minute, I did the breathing exercises from the meditation software I downloaded months ago, but never used. What was I doing? Was this crazy? Maybe I should block Jake on everything and live normally. My determination strengthened as I thought about him sitting at his birthday meal, presumably lying about our relationship and making himself the victim. I arrived at his parents' place at 6:15, fashionably late, which would anger Jake. Several automobiles were in the driveway. It looked like the whole family. Walked to the door after checking my makeup in the rearview mirror and taking one last big breath. Jake's dad greeted me with a smile and hug, and let me in. I felt melancholy when the house smelled like Emma's pot roast. I liked Jake's family, and this was probably my last visit. I turned into the living room and saw Jake drinking and laughing at his cousin's comment. He froze when he saw me, evidently not expecting me despite telling his family. I thought his expression was priceless. He looked panicked for a moment before calming down and smiling. He hugged me tightly and whispered, "You came. We need to chat privately." I smiled and said, "I wouldn't miss your birthday for anything, especially since you've been telling everyone we had important news to share." The color left his face. Emma enthusiastically cheered and asked if this was it. Jake's sister looked at me knowingly. His parents joked about having grandchildren. Jake grabbed my elbow too tightly and tried to steer me down the hallway, but his mom cried out that supper was ready and everyone should sit down. Cody texted me, "On my way," while we sat at the dining table with Jake warily eyeing me. 15 minutes out. Jake growled, "What are you doing here?" I considered after the restaurant. I smiled pleasantly and added, "Oh Jake, I wouldn't miss the chance to tell your family about that restaurant episode. That narrative would delight them." As his mom brought out the dinner, his countenance was in complete fear. Worth every anxious moment getting there. Game on. Update 2. I can now describe Jake's birthday supper. Forgive the delay. I needed a mental health day after all this turmoil. My neighbor stole my password and downloaded the internet, causing Wi-Fi issues. We left off where? Right. Me eating dinner with Jake's family while he worried what I'd say. So there I was with Jake's parents Emma and Ralph, his sister Kayla, his grandma, and 2 cousins whose names I usually mix up. Emma's pot roast, buttery mashed potatoes I'd fantasized of, and a gourmet salad nobody would eat but pretend to like were on the table. The first 20 minutes were unpleasant. Jake tried to manage the conversation while looking at me. I smiled and passed the bread rolls, enjoying his left eye twitching whenever I spoke. Petty? Maybe. Satisfying? Absolutely. Emma kept the conversation going. Bless her. She asked about my family, job, and regular small talk. She said they were proud of Jake's promotion, and I nearly choked on my water. Jake's face was the same color as the beets on the table. Jake said his team was crushing its goals, and his boss was developing him for senior management. I only nodded, watching him sink deeper with each word. Ralph, typically silent, suddenly queried Jake about the Johnson account. Jake was allegedly informing his dad about a large transaction he was leading. Jake's ambiguous response regarding strategic pivots and core competencies could have been a horoscope. That was meaningless. His sister Kayla caught my glance across the table. She's always been the suspicious family member that Googles facts during disagreements and calls out BS. She looked at me like, is he real? Emma then mentioned the future. She inquired about our major news and how it affected our next move. Jake almost dropped his fork and muttered about not discussing it yet. His grandmother, who has no filter and is my favorite family member. Case. So are you two moving in together or what? Because Jake said you were apartment hunting together. New to me again. We only got as far as me suggesting we combine our Netflix accounts to save money. Jake mentioned that his supervisor gave him a business card to use. I couldn't resist. I inquired what expenses he could sanction. He mumbled about client meals and team outings. I casually added, "Oh, speaking of dinners, Jake took me to this amazing restaurant last week." Honey, what was it called again? Where did you meet Joshua and Pablo? His face lost color faster than my TikTok battery. My phone dies after 20 minutes of scrolling. Anyone else? Doorbell rang before he could reply. Perfect timing. Emma answered and said, "Oh, Cody. What a shock." Jake was about to faint. Cody entered with a folder in his button-up shirt. Professional. He apologized for disturbing the birthday dinner but said Jake needed to sign some business documents immediately for Monday morning. As the great host, Emma promptly invited him to cake later. Jake tried to take Cody to the front door, but Ralph said they could work at the table as we're all family. Cody took the empty chair beside me, which I'd saved, NGL. Jake gripped his fork so tightly I feared it would bend. Ralph asked Cody about Jake's apparently led big presentation. Cody looked bewildered before understanding. I saw him making a decision as he looked at me and Jake. Cody stated the presentation went great, but their boss gave it, and Jake and the crew supported it. Ralph was confused, and replied Jake hadn't mentioned that. Since I'm messy, I questioned Cody about Jake's promotion. Cody seemed so awkward, torn between loyalty to a coworker and lying to his family. He fiddled with his napkin and murmured something cryptic about company restructuring. Jake tried to switch topics to sports or whatever with a phony laugh, but his sister rejected it. She asked Cody directly about Jake's title. The silence was like dropping something in a public restroom. Everyone hears it, but no one wants to reply. Cody stared at Jake, who was silently imploring, then at me, nodding gently. He cleared his throat and stated Jake was a marketing administrative assistant. The silence. Ralph put down his fork gently. His grandmother said, "Huh." Kayla murmured, "Perhaps." I knew it. Jake quickly mediated, claiming Cody was confused, had numerous jobs, and was complicated. But the dam cracked. His relatives started asking specific questions he couldn't avoid. When were you promoted? He hadn't. Why was your team mentioned? He didn't. That corner office you mentioned? Also fiction. Jake's tales unfolded with each question. He kept staring at me like this was my fault, which made me want to say everything. Emma, bless her, tried to reconcile. She suggested we share cake and chat about brighter topics. Kayla asked me about the place I mentioned as she headed to the kitchen. I had my moment. I took a big breath and told them everything. How Jake invited me to meet his friends, how he belittled me at dinner, and how he ditched me in front of everyone and left, leaving me with a $347 bill I couldn't afford. Jake interrupted numerous times, but his dad replied with an expression I'd never seen before: disappointment. Jake's defense? I exaggerated and played victim, that I embarrassed him in front of his coworkers by not fitting in. Getting the bill taught me financial responsibility. His grandmother snorted at the final one. Cody finally spoke after several silences. He validated my tale, saying he'd heard Jake brag to coworkers about putting me in my place. He showed Pablo texts on his phone. Hey, receipts. Discussing events. Jake tried to seem victimized when Emma brought the cake in. She put it down and inquired what she missed. There was silence. Jake's dad gently suggested a family honesty discussion. Jake threw a fit. He accused me of betraying his family, called Cody a traitor, and said everyone was jealous of his success. Which success? He dropped his water glass, pointed at me, and shouted that a girl like me should be grateful he even bothered. Mother gasped. I think his grandmother swore. His sister shook her head, unsurprised. I kept my cool and replied I was only grateful for seeing him for who he was. Jake stormed out, slamming the door so violently that one of Emma's beautiful plates cracked. The aftermath seemed oddly calm. Emma apologized 50 times. Ralph looked unhappy and exhausted. Kayla cleaned up water spills. Cody apologized for the awkwardness but couldn't watch Jake lie to everyone. The oddest thing happened. Instead of sending me home, they offered cake. Jake's ex-girlfriend, co-worker and family ate birthday cake without him. It would have been awkward in any other scenario, but it wasn't. After cake, I helped Emma clean the kitchen. She kept apologizing and claimed she had no idea Jake lied so much. She seemed heartbroken about her son's transformation, not simply what he'd done to me. Personally, I felt awful for her. No parent wants to discover their child is bad. She softly inquired if there were signals earlier, and I replied that I had overlooked red flags because I wanted to believe the best about him. Jake's dad stopped me before I left. He apologized for his son's actions and thanked me for my honesty. He looked disheartened, like he was trying to figure out how they had raised him wrong. I assured him it wasn't their fault. Jake went his own way. Cody volunteered to walk me to my car, perhaps understanding I needed time to process. As we proceeded down the road, he said Jake had been experiencing work issues for months, taking credit for others' ideas, lying about his accomplishments, and even forging customer correspondence. This was his last warning before termination. Jake's urgent drive to be successful made twisted sense. His entire persona was constructed on this faux prosperity and position. Considering that, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Thanks to Cody for supporting me, I went home feeling emotionally exhausted and relieved, like taking off an uncomfortable bra at the end of the day. I apologize for the odd analogy, but you understand. Vanessa left 3 missed calls for updates when I arrived home. Jake texted me as I prepared to call her. You ruined everything. This continues. I remained silent. I blocked his number and prepared tea. I should have been terrified or upset, but I was exhausted and maybe proud of standing up to him. I thought that was it. Really. However, Jake's mom, sister, Cody, and numerous unknown numbers left 13 missed calls on my phone this morning. Jake had lost it overnight, as his voicemails became increasingly agitated. Update 3. I can now explain those 13 missed calls. I appreciate your patience while I processed everything. Sorry for the delay. My laptop did a surprise 4-hour update precisely when I got down to write. So, where were we? My phone was full of Jake's relatives, and Cody calls Sunday morning following the birthday dinner debacle. I initially believed someone had died. 5 missed calls from Emma, 3 from Kayla, 2 from Cody, and 3 from unknown numbers had my stomach plummet as I read through the notifications. Emma answered the phone on the first ring, sounding fatigued, because her voicemails were just variations of, Sabrina, please call me as soon as you can. She appeared most frightened. Jake apparently went on a bender after storming out of the birthday meal. He arrived at his ex-girlfriend's place drunk and raving about how I'd ruined his life at 2 a.m. Kayla had to pick up the ex, who I didn't even know existed, who was understandably frightened off. There was more. Jake also spent the night sending rambling messages to almost everyone we knew. He texted Cody, threatening to ruin him at work. LOL, good luck when you're fired. He wrote this lengthy Facebook statement about being besieged by snakes and people regretting betraying him. Most worrisome was that he sent his friend Pablo my address in a private conversation, threatening to punish me for humiliating him. Pablo, who seems moral, phoned Emma and forwarded the message, which is why she was so frantic to reach me. I was sitting on my couch in my ragged old pajamas, hair still in yesterday's sloppy bun, trying to comprehend all this information while Emma apologized 50 times for her son's behavior. Maybe I should have been afraid, but I was simply tired. Like when your phone is stuck at 1% battery for hours, waiting to die so you can charge it and move on. Emma came over to check on me, which was kind but made me panic clean my flat. Nothing drives cleaning like knowing someone's mom will see your home, right? My doorbell rang as I threw filthy laundry in my closet and scrubbed dried toothpaste off the sink. Emma had Kayla too. I might miss Jake most because they brought coffee and tiny little pastries from the shop near their house. They told me about Jake while we sat at my tiny kitchen table with the wobbly leg I've been wanting to fix for months. Kayla said Jake had lied about his life before. He reportedly told everyone he was on the baseball team in college when he was cut during tryouts. He once claimed to be talking to a popular girl who didn't know him. He constantly imagined himself as more successful, popular, and everything else. I received texts from pals who saw Jake's social media meltdown while they talked. Vanessa was terrified and wanted to bring her kickboxing boyfriend over in case. I swear she watches too many criminal shows. Many bewildered messages about Jake's dramatic subtweets filled my group chat. Then my doorbell rang again. I froze, wondering if it was Jake. Cody appeared through the blinds, and Kayla breathed deeply. Jake had mentioned visiting me, so Cody wanted to warn me in person that he had been blowing up his phone all morning. Me, Jake's mom, his sister and his co-worker sat in my living room on a Sunday morning, trying to figure out what to do about this man-child screaming a tantrum because he was caught lying. It would have been funny without the tension. Imagine explaining this to someone who wasn't there. Cody said their employer heard Jake's social media rant. Someone screenshotted and forwarded it, making Monday at work interesting. Kayla worried Jake would do something reckless if he lost his job too. Then my doorbell rang again. Thanks for watching and diving into this wild family drama with me. If you love Reddit family drama, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one. I called off my engagement to my fiancée after she requested a break to explore her ex. I sold our house and disappeared. I called off my engagement to my fiancée after she requested a break to explore her ex. I sold our home and disappeared. Hello everyone, after what seems like an age, I, 27 male, felt it was time to talk about what has been going on with me lately. The trouble is, until recently, I thought I was marrying the love of my life, Tessa, 26 female. We'd been together for 4 years and, for the most part, I believed we were good. But now I'm sitting here, wondering why I hadn't seen this coming sooner. Tessa and I met at a birthday party, introduced by a mutual friend. She was funny, confident, and had a straightforward style that I liked. I dated before, but no one connected with me as she did. We connected instantly and moved in together after a year. Things felt natural, as if we were all on the same page regarding careers, marriage, and eventually starting a family. She was a freelance graphic designer, and I worked as a project manager for a technology company, so our schedules were somewhat comparable. Life was not flashy, but it was delightful. We had been talking about getting married for a while, but it wasn't until last year that I proposed. Nothing spectacular, just a regular dinner at home for the two of us. Tessa appears thrilled. She cried, hugged me, and consented. That night, we began to plan our future, a fall wedding with a small guest list and this gorgeous lakeside location. It appeared that everything was coming into place, or so I thought. The earliest red flags were little and visible. They were little issues that I overlooked since I didn't want to overthink. For example, Tessa's passion for wedding planning waned after a few months. She was all in at first, sending me Pinterest boards, looking through wedding gowns, and inquiring about minor matters like whether I wanted tulips or roses for the centerpiece. But then it abruptly ceased. I'd ask her stuff like, "Hey, have you chosen your bridesmaids yet?" And she'd blow them off. "Not yet, I'm still thinking about it," she repeated. The same thing happened with her outfit, cake, and music. Every decision we'd been so excited about had become something she wished to postpone. "There's still time," she'd explain. The wedding seemed like an afterthought. At the time, I told myself it was just stress. Wedding planning can be overwhelming, right? Furthermore, Tessa had a lot going on at work. I expected her to snap out of it eventually. What I didn't know was that her lack of enthusiasm was not for the wedding, but for us. The actual slap in the face occurred one night when we were out with some friends. Someone mentioned the idiotic TikTok game, which you've probably seen. It's the one where you have to answer personal inquiries with a straight face and avoid passing judgment. Everything was going well until someone asked, if you could relive one relationship, which would it be? Tessa said without hesitation. Oh, probably Dylan. Just like that. Dylan. Her college ex. The one who cheated on her. The moment she said that, the room went awkwardly quiet. She chuckled sheepishly and tried to backtrack, saying, I mean, not that I'd want to. It's just a significant element of my past. I wanted to confront her right there, but we were among friends, so I let it go. Later, when we were alone, I asked her about it. What was it about Dylan? Why did you decide to revisit that relationship? She just shrugged it off as if it were no big deal. That was a silly game, Liam. Don't take it too seriously, she said, changing the subject. I didn't pursue it since I didn't want to start a fight over something so little, but it lingered in my mind. After that, her conduct became more impossible to ignore. She was using her phone more frequently, scrolling through her texts with a sly little smile, and making vague excuses for why she couldn't hang out or why she would cancel arrangements at the last minute. Oh, sorry, I just have a lot of work to catch up on tonight, she'd usually say. Alternatively, I promised my mom I'd visit this weekend. The excuses were not particularly suspect, but they added up, and it appeared that I had become less of a priority. Then came Friday night, which altered everything. I arrived home from work early, eager to spend the evening with Tessa, hoping we could order in and binge-watch something, a quiet night. When I walked in, the mood looked strange. She was sitting on the couch, holding her laptop, but she wasn't working. She was staring at the screen, completely inattentive. Hey, I'm home, I said softly, attempting to break the tension. You're early, she replied, as if it was a bad thing. I brushed it off and went into the kitchen to start preparing dinner, but the silence in the home was suffocating. Normally, she'd ask how my day was or tell me about hers, but tonight, nothing. Finally, I looked around and inquired. Is everything all right? She closed her laptop and looked at me. Actually, there's something I need to talk to you about. And my stomach plummeted. You know how you feel when you know something bad is about to happen but can't stop it? That was me, standing there like an idiot with a spatula in one hand. I approached and sat across from her. All right, I replied. What's going on? She paused, as if struggling to find the right words. She just came out with it. I've been thinking about us, and about Dylan. I swear, I almost laughed. Dylan? Are you serious? What about him? She bit her lip and averted my sight. I suppose I need some time to consider things through. I'd like to take a break and see whether there's still something there with him. I couldn't believe what I'd heard. Do you want to take a break and date your ex? Are you out of your mind, Tessa? We've got engaged? It's not like that, she said quickly, as if she could smooth things up. I just want to know whether I'm making the correct choice with you. And if it doesn't work out, I promise to return. That's when I realized how arrogant she was. She believed I'd sit around and wait for her to decide if I was good enough. I didn't yell or blow up. Instead, I sat there staring at her, wondering how I hadn't seen this coming. I wasn't sure how to respond at first. My fiancée recently informed me that she wants to take a break to explore things with her ex and Dylan. What can you say to that? Finally, I inquired. So, what does this break signify for you? My voice sounded more calm than I felt. She straightened up slightly, as if she were prepared for this conversation. I think we need some space to figure things out. I'll take some time to see if my feelings for Dylan are genuine, and you're allowed to think about us as well. I couldn't believe their arrogance. Wait, I answered, leaning closer. You're saying you need to date your ex, but I need to think about us? What kind of backward logic is that? Tessa sighed, as if I were being ridiculous. It's not that you did anything wrong, Liam. This is about me determining what I need. She appeared to have practiced this. The way she spoke, the way she avoided eye contact, it was as if she had already decided this was going to happen and just wanted me to accept it. You realize this sounds insane, right? I mumbled. You don't just put your fiancé on wait while you play what if with some guy who treats you like crap. Her expression stiffened, and I noticed for the first time how stubborn she could be. I am not asking for permission, Liam. I'm telling you what I need. That one landed differently. I wasn't just sad, I was angry, so I rose up and started pacing, hoping to calm myself down. So what, Tessa? You're just going to pack your bags and head over to Dylan's place. Is this your huge plan? No, she insisted. It's not like that. I'm not sure what it looks like yet, but I need clarity before moving forward. I owe it to myself to know I'm making the correct decision. Do you owe it to yourself? I asked, laughing cruelly. And what about what you owe me? Tessa, we're engaged. We're meant to be starting a life together, and now you're telling me you need to test drive your ex to make sure I'm good enough? I never said you weren't good enough, she continued, her voice rising. But if we're going to spend the rest of our lives together, I need to be sure. And right now I am not. That was it. She wasn't just interested in doing new things with Dylan, she was also unsure about me, even after 4 years together and all of our goals. It struck me all at once. She hadn't realized how terrible and stupid her request was, and she thought it was appropriate for me to just sit there while she figured out whatever stupidity was going through her head. I stopped pacing and peered at her. Do you know what? Sure, I replied, my tone flat. Take a break. She blinked, astonished at how quickly I agreed. Liam, I am not trying to hurt you. I just need space to figure things out. I nodded with a blank expression. All right, if that's all you need. She stopped, as if she expected me to argue or fight for her, and when I didn't, she rose up, took out her laptop, and whispered, I'll stay at my mother's for a while. This will not last forever. We'll discuss when I have some time. Okay, I responded simply. She looked at me, unsure how to respond, and then disappeared into the bedroom, where I could hear her moving around and throwing things into a bag. I remained calm on the couch, but my thoughts were already racing. If she genuinely needs a break, that's okay, let her have it. Several minutes later, I heard the front door close, and she was gone, possibly thinking she had abandoned me here to wait and worry. She had no idea I wasn't going to sit around and do nothing. She could have her fantasy, but I had other plans, and I'll provide an update once I've put certain things in motion. This isn't going to end the way she expects. Update 1. Thank you for your comments and recommendations on my previous post. A lot has happened this week, and I'd like to share how things are progressing. First and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone in this community for their tremendous support. Many of you said that I don't just sit around waiting, and you were accurate. I've been busy putting things into action. First, I contacted Noah, my best buddy since college, and he is not the type of man to sugarcoat things. After hearing the whole story, he brought over pizza, and we spent the entire night plotting. Dude, you know she'll attempt to crawl back if things don't work out with Dylan, right? Noah reminded him. Of course, he was accurate, and the more we talked, the clearer it became that I needed to take action. This wasn't about vengeance, it was about restoring control of my life. I began with the house. Tessa doesn't seem to remember that it's totally in my name, and she loves to behave as if it's our home, always talking about the curtains and paint colors she chose, despite the fact that I pay the mortgage. I called a realtor first thing Monday morning, and we decided to list it right away. The market in our neighborhood is now hot, and we already have several potential buyers. Tessa has no idea. She probably thinks I'm sitting here in our shared home, waiting for her to sort out her feelings. The second stage was to gently remove her from my life. Remember those live, laugh, love posters she insisted on putting up? They're gone. Did she really need those wonderful throw pillows? They're donated. Her clothing and personal belongings that she left behind? I carefully packaged them all up, but this is where I became strategic. Instead of simply dropping her belongings off at her mother's house or having her come fetch them, I hired a moving company, who took everything to her mother's house and left a brief note. This is your stuff. Good luck with Dylan. I realize some of you may think this is petty, but I disagree. I'm not being vindictive, I'm being efficient. She needed some space to think things through. She has it, literally. The most exciting moment occurred when common friends began asking questions. Instead of playing the victim or slandering her, I simply told the truth. Tessa felt she needed to discuss things with her ex before committing to marriage. I decided I deserved more than being someone's backup plan. You should see how people react to that. No drama, no accusations, just facts. It's incredible how quickly the story changes when you don't try to control it. I've also been making moves at work. I applied for a position at our West Coast office that I'd been thinking about for a long time. If the house sells, which seems likely, and I get this job, I'll be starting over on the other side of the nation. Tessa has attempted to contact me numerous times this week, first with humorous texts like, "Hope you're doing okay," and progressing to increasingly anxious messages once she realized I was actually making changes rather than merely waiting around. She was in a panic yesterday when her mother told her the boxes had arrived. "What are you doing? Why are you acting as if this is over?" I kept my response simple. Because it's over, Tessa. You made your decision, and now I'll make mine. She started crying, stating that she only needed time to think things through, that I was being too hasty, and that this was not what she meant when she asked for a break. What were you expecting? I questioned her. That I'd wait here like a faithful puppy while you test drove your ex? That is not how this works. But what if I realize you are the one I want? She was crying. Then you'll have learned a valuable lesson about not taking people for granted, I explained before hanging up the phone. The strange thing is that I'm no longer upset. Instead, I feel freed. Every box I pack, every move I make feels like I'm reclaiming aspects of myself that I hadn't realized I'd given up. Noah came by again yesterday to help me pack the house, and he saw the shift in me. You seem different, he said. More focused? He's right, I'm different. When Tessa initially expressed her willingness to pursue things with Dylan, I felt like my world was collapsing. Now I see it wasn't my world collapsing, but rather the false reality I'd been living in finally disintegrating. I have more ideas in the works, but I'll save them for the next post. For the time being, I'll just say this. Sometimes the best way to respond to someone treating you as an option is to remove yourself entirely from their list of alternatives. Stay tuned. This story hasn't concluded yet, and I have a feeling Tessa's break to sort things out isn't going to go as planned. Update 2. I appreciate all of the responses on my recent update. Things have escalated dramatically, and I'd like to explain how the situation has developed. Remember how I mentioned applying for the West Coast position? Well, I got it, and the timing couldn't be better. The house is under contract, with the closing scheduled for next month, but that's only the beginning. What's particularly interesting is how Tessa's Dylan exploration is unfolding. Through mutual connections, I discovered that their restored passion isn't quite the fairy tale she envisioned. It appears that 4 years haven't changed him much. He's still the untrustworthy guy who cheated on her in college. Tessa has sought to control the narrative on social media by spreading vague encouraging platitudes about finding yourself and following your heart. So I decided to play the same game, but with a twist. I wrote a single factual post. Update on my life. I'm excited to say that I've accepted a position in San Francisco. Sometimes when one door shuts, another opens. I'm looking forward to this new chapter. People congratulated me, inquired about the relocation, and, of course, asked about Tessa. I kept my responses simple and honest. We are no longer together. She wants to look into other choices, so I am doing the same. This sparked off a terrific chain reaction in our social circle. Remember those people who weren't sure about the situation? Watching me handle it with grace as Tessa shared cryptic relationship quotes completely transformed the environment. Sarah, 29 female, a mutual colleague in the computer business who used to refer many clients to Tessa, contacted me about Tessa's freelance design job, which is mostly reliant on referrals and networking. I need to know what happened, Sarah said while drinking a coffee. Tessa's telling people you're having a temporary separation to grow individually, but something feels off. I shared Tessa's note about wanting to date Dylan, and Sarah's expression said it all. She didn't believe it. By the end of the week, several potential clients had pushed back their projects with Tessa, not because I said anything bad, but because honestly, who wants to work with someone who takes commitment so lightly? Tessa sensed a difference, and her texts became more frequent and agitated. Why are you telling others about Dylan? You are damaging my reputation. This is not fair. I simply needed time to consider. I replied to the last question. You got what you wanted, time and space. How I spend mine is no longer your concern. The turning point came when Dylan, in his infinite wisdom, published a photo of them together in the restaurant where Tessa and I had our first date. It was clear she was attempting to recreate our history with him, which was both sad and humorous. The post didn't stay long, but the damage was done. Our acquaintances witnessed it, and the few people who still believed Tessa's finding myself story lost regard for her. Even her own sister contacted me. I am really sorry for how she is taking this. You deserve better? What was the most fulfilling aspect? I didn't have to be vengeful. I simply lived my life freely and honestly, whereas Tessa tried to play both sides. The truth has a way of coming out. She came to my office yesterday, and Dylan seemed to have already shown his true colors, flirting with other women, being untrustworthy, a common narrative. She was crying. I made a tremendous mistake, she cried. I was afraid of commitment. I assumed I needed to know if there was anything better out there, but I was mistaken. You are the best thing that ever happened to me. I merely looked at her calmly. No, Tessa. The nicest thing that ever occurred to me was when you revealed your true colors before we married. She tried to argue, saying that we could solve it, that she would go to counseling, and that she would prove she could be trusted again, But I simply shook my head. You don't understand, do you? This isn't about Dylan anymore. This is about you thinking you can keep me as a backup while you consider your options. That's not love, it's convenience. She left my office distraught, but I was feeling better than ever. The house closes next week, the majority of my stuff has been packed, and my new life in San Francisco begins in a month. The funny thing is that some people think I'm being overly tough. Everyone makes mistakes, they explain, but this was not a mistake, it was a choice. Every time she texted Dylan, she lied about where she was, and she spent every second planning to put our romance on hold. These were all options. I'll send another update after the move is over, but in the meanwhile, I'll leave you with this. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even, but rather getting better, which is precisely what I'm doing. Next update. Update 3. Thank you for following my voyage. This is my final post, and I have some fascinating happenings to tell. San Francisco is everything I dreamed it would be. My new apartment has a breathtaking view of the bay, the tech environment is amazing, and my new office team is fantastic. It's nice to be around people that value progress and creativity over drama. But first, let me catch you up on how things ended back home. The closing went smoothly, and the house actually sold for more than the asking price. It was interesting to see Tessa's reaction after finding out through mutual friends, as she didn't believe I'd sold the house until she drove by and saw the new owners move in. Here's where things got really interesting. Remember Dylan? He reached out to me, of all people, and sent me a long note explaining how he never wanted to cause difficulties and that Tessa had approached him first, months before she sought the break. Tessa had been planning her little exploration for quite some time. She had been messaging Dylan for months, carefully laying the groundwork for her backup strategy. What's with the irony? Dylan ended their relationship because, as he put it, if she could do this to you, she could do it to anyone. Tessa's career repercussions have been enormous. Remember all the clients she'd lined up? The majority of them found other designers, not because I said anything, but because word spreads in the industry. One of her largest clients really contacted me. We heard what happened with the engagement, they explained. We're searching for someone who can commit to long-term initiatives. Do you know any reliable designers? I recommended a skilled acquaintance of mine, and she was awarded the contract. Karma, I suppose. Tessa's social media collapse was a sight to behold, beginning with somber quotes about losing your sweetheart and progressing to angry messages about toxic people who can't handle growth. Finally, she made desperate attempts to show everyone how happy she was. The last one was extremely interesting. She wrote about starting her own design firm, and 3 days later, she started sending out job applications. Her sister contacted me again last week, indicating that Tessa has been staying with their parents and that she needs time to heal after their split. She truly expected you to wait for her. When you sold the house and moved, her ideal was entirely shattered. The most encouraging moment came during a video conversation with our old buddy group, when someone mentioned seeing Tessa at a coffee shop, explaining to a potential customer why her portfolio website was down. Apparently, she forgot that I was the one who set it up and maintained it, and when her hosting membership ended, she couldn't figure out how to reinstate it, which is no longer my responsibility. My new life is coming together wonderfully. I've joined a local rock climbing club, started taking Spanish classes, and even adopted a dog from a local shelter named Zeus, who is a better friend than my ex-fiancé. Last week, I was invited to speak at a developer conference, which would not have happened if I had stayed at home. It's incredible what you can accomplish when you're not lugging dead weight. The tech community here is quite welcoming. I had one last interaction with Tessa. She sent me an email demanding some old photographs from our shared cloud storage, which I had already deleted and canceled several weeks ago. Her email said, "I understand you're attempting to eliminate me from your life, but you can't simply delete our memories." Those 4 years meant something. My response was simple. You're correct. Those years taught me what I don't want from a spouse. Thank you for the lesson. Some common acquaintances think I'm being very harsh and should be more understanding of her moment of confusion. However, it wasn't a moment, it was a deliberate decision to keep me as a safety net while she sought what she saw as a better alternative. What is the most significant thing I've learned from all of this? Sometimes the worst things that happen to you result in the best outcomes. If Tessa hadn't showed her true colors, I may have married her, only to discover her true personality years later, possibly with children in the mix. Instead, I'm in a gorgeous city with a wonderful job, making new friends, and feeling positive about the future. The sorrow of betrayal has been replaced with gratitude for avoiding a gunshot. Thank you to everyone who has followed the tale and given advice. Your support has helped me stay strong when I may have wavered. And for anyone going through a similar circumstance, know this. When someone shows you who they are, believe them right away. Don't wait for them to change their opinion about you. Life is too short to be someone's backup plan. Sometimes the best thing you can do is take a step back and improve your own situation. That's it for now, guys. This chapter of my life has officially concluded, and I can't wait for the next one to begin. Take care, and many thanks for everything.